You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is July 2nd, 2024 meeting of the LaPorte County Council and Board of Commissioners Joint Workshop. You can find more information on this workshop by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
All right, we're going to call the LaPorte County Joint Workshop with the council and the commissioners together to discuss. We're not going to be discussing necessarily the insurance things that are pending insurance. We're talking about things outside of the insurance at the complex. It's all complex things. And then there's some other, obviously, repairs in the county that need to be done. But I'm going to turn it over to the commissioners to address.
So one of the things that we discussed at the last workshop was the HVAC issue that we're having in the complex and keeping the floors cool. So I know that Adam has been working a lot on looking at the plans, and we did have a meeting on Monday with the contractors. So you want to take over at this point?
So, yes, I had a meeting with Andy from LaPorte County Project Management. Scott Cooley was there. Asked for folks from Arctic to be present, essentially going over technical details. I think it's fair to say that I'm going to start out with the fact that the as-built condition of the annex is subpar from cooling capabilities. The as-built condition doesn't match the as-built drawings, and they are far from the as-designed drawings. Looking at it is essentially a overall tonnage of cooling capacity on the roof is slightly under what the max, well, let's say the average need would be for the building. If you look at the square footage of the building, we need about 406 tons. We have 400 total capacity at 100% consumption of those two machines. Essentially, you build it to 20% over. That would take us to almost 500 tons. From there, you look at the flow problem from the way it's plumbed, and the plumbing is going to be ineffective regardless if we had the full 500 tons. And that's where we start getting into the cooling, the added chiller needs, and finding a way to make the current plumbing work. Mr. DiMartino.
Yes, could we just, how does something like that happen? You have your plans, and then you have what happened, and then you have your as-built, all different. Just, I'm not a contractor, I have no idea.
So you're going to have a proposal that comes from somebody like, in this particular case, DLZ was the architect. They had the drawings. They probably used an engineering firm to come up with that. They may have been the engineering firm. They may have had somebody else do the design within the building based off of 1974 construction being tied into 2001, 2002 construction. Throughout the different iterations of projects, you made some mention of addendums that were made. At least 7 of them, if not more, that folks have seen throughout. But what's the most disturbing is we were handed as-built drawings that are stamped by the vendor or vendors at the time. And just yesterday morning we were walking through, and I was looking for a pump that's not present in the design, that was in the as-built, as we'll call it a symbol in the drawing, but there's no reference to it to the pump schedule. The pump schedule is going to give you the details on that pump. That pump it'd be great to have in here right now, because it would at least tell us if it was running or not running. Could we improve the current system with what we have? It's not even there. And you can tell that it's not something that was removed based on when we were walking the line.
So it was never there?
It was never there, to the best that I can tell.
So how does a project like this get signed off on? How does it get completed?
So in my experiences in projects that get handed off from one person to another, whether that be the general contractor, whether that be, in this case, we had come across an instance where it sounds like a heating and air or a mechanical contractor, not exactly sure who it was, went bankrupt mid-project, and then it was taken up by somebody else. And there may have been changes there. There may have been changes by the group of commissioners and other elected officials or building maintenance or project managers or general contractors that changed and said, well, we're going to make a change because of budget concerns. We're going to make a change because of just general, hey, the 1974 portion of the building requires us to do something different because the pipes that we're not going to change, similar to like what we talked about with the what's supposed to be potable water pipes that are all iron being changed out to copper, things like that. It depends on what decisions were made at that time. And there's not very good documentation of any of that. And Mr. Yagowski, please.
Well, I mentioned a few things. Let me just give you one example of many, but the project was not bid. I shouldn't say it wasn't bid properly. It was never going to make the amount of money they said they were going to bring. It was never going to come in on price on time. So, example, the structure was supposed to have been built with the idea of going up to five more floors because we said we want to have the ability to go 2 more additional floors. Well, lo and behold, they were over budget, so they ended up making a foundation so that we could not go 2 more floors. Was that brought up to the council? No, it was not. So it was signed off by the commissioners at the time. And so that was one thing of many. It was L&D that was involved in it too at the time. So there was some other subcontractors that work on this project. It wasn't just DLZ. So at the time, Terry Garner and myself were brought in as council members like you were at helping out because we had some construction experience. But it was a disappointment because we were not told all the numbers. We were not given all the information. But how does that happen? Because somehow they got to come back at the end of the day and pay the bills, and we weren't given any more money.
So
And they're no longer here, so they're deceased, but whatever. That one, they told me about it. I have it at home. I don't remember the company, but they did go bankrupt. I remember because when we met with them. They were in trouble at the time, and I had that information somewhere in my files, but I could find it for you if you really want me to get it for you. I can get it for you.
It was a small subcontractor, though. It wasn't a big company.
Wasn't the original contractor on the whole project?
It was the contractor for the plumbing. Yeah.
For the plumbing.
It's a pretty good sized contractor for the plumbing. Yeah.
It's not uncommon actually when I met with the folks from Arctic and they heard what I did for a living and understood what projects we had. They had also mentioned that a contractor we used went belly up sometime after the project that they did here in LaPorte. So
I mean, just example, like when we did the work on the brickwork out here, we bankrupted Zolkowski, all that work that we were doing on the outside, tuck point and all that. It's not uncommon for this stuff to happen. They come in with $1 grand, they're going to give us all this work, and they can't fulfill their contract. And Zolkowski went bankrupt on this masonry work that we did on the outside of work. I happen to remember the name on that one because good Polish name. Right, Rich? That was my cousin.
The issue also, and I'm sure Adam will speak of it, though, is there was another air handler up there, or chiller.
So this is where things get muddy. So there was a chiller that existed in the mechanical room down next to EMA. That in the decommissioning drawings or the demolition drawings of the first plan, that chiller was never part of the scope of work. So we weren't touching it. Actually, at first I didn't see it until because of the way that the drawings are rendered to highlight what's changing and what's staying the same. But that chiller remained on the floor. Sometime either during the project or just after the project is when a third chiller that existed down here and the supporting water tower, which exists you can see the remaining rails on the west side of the annex, were removed. So what we have right now are two 200-ton air-cooled chillers. What we had down here, I don't know if it was a 100 ton or 200 ton chiller on the floor that was cooled by the water tower that was on the roof.
And there's no record of it being removed, being authorized to be removed, being paid to have it removed, that we've been able to find yet so far.
Correct, and I haven't dug too far into that yet. Everything I've gone through has just been this construction project.
Right.
Long and the short of it is, we do need some level of change. It comes down to what degree are we going to get involved in terms of types of change? Is it split the systems, add an additional chiller, which is similar to the Mr. Skiat, don't let me put words in your mouth. The proposal you brought to us before was essentially put in an auxiliary chiller to support the west side of the building, and then work on splitting the systems to where we end up with another chiller added to support the office side or west side of the annex. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so that is one answer. Other answers could be other smaller changes that may be less invasive, less costly, but will be a step less effective. So I can't think what's in front of the Board of Commissioners and this council to help decide and work through with the help of Andy and his firm.
So one of the numbers that I know we had talked before, the number that Andy came up and Andy did not say the number, I did, is that we're looking at about $4 to $6 million project.
Well, here's the problem. When you look at what we currently have invested in the building, and if we don't address it, all the construction that we've just done, as far as the flooring, the drywall, the humidity up there is pretty high. How will that affect the work that we've just had done? Is there a guarantee that if the floors start popping or anything, is the construction company going to come back out and replace it for us, or is it become our problem because we didn't address the issue?
Well, granted, the issue just got thrown at us just
Right,
a couple weeks ago, so we had brought up the issues with dehumidifiers and trying to get this addressed right away to take care of that. We need to fix it right away. That's our first fix, because you got to address it. You're not going to get this system put in a month.
No, because how long? What's the lead time on ordering a 2-ton cooling system? 200 ton.
Andy Skiat, LaPorte County Project Management. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. So from the discussions we've had with the HVAC firm, they expect the lead time to be anywhere from 30 plus weeks to 46 weeks for equipment, and then you still need to go through the design phase, bring those multiple designs, as Councilman Kronka stated. One option would be to split the system and then install a new 200-ton chiller for the complex. A more economical route, but more risky route, which we are still spending major money, would be to take the two 200-ton chillers that you have on the jail that now supplement each other. You could split those off. You could use one for the complex, one for the jail. At that point, you have no supplement. Each chiller is running 100% duty. They're 22 plus years old. They're already at the end of their life. You're still going to spend a lot of money repiping the building adequately to make that happen. And then at that point, if you lose one or both of those chillers, then your whole building goes down. So that is probably a cost savings route, but you're putting equipment that's already at the end of its lifespan on full duty with no supplement or no primary, secondary, and then you're going to run that full time. So, but back to the question. So by the time you would do the design phase, bring those designs to the county with a potential budget, what that work would cost, then go through the procurement process of the county's choice, and then order equipment. We estimated you're looking anywhere from 1.5 years to 2 years.
So to put some numbers around things in terms of the current conditions right now, I went through with a temperature and humidity probe when it was about 88 degrees and 54% humidity outside. Through 3, 4, and 5 in various areas, it averaged about 75 degrees, between 58 and 63% humidity. Probably the best place we want to be is somewhere in the right around 45, 45 to 50% humidity is where you want to be with a lot of things. But I'm not an expert in all the building materials used up there, but I did happen to look at some of the adhesives, and most of those are solvent based, but I can't say that they're going to continue to be a robust seal with the concrete to the, whether that be carpet or tile.
So is 60% humidity that it's?
You gotta go.
Can you come to the,
Is the 60% humidity that it's running now, is that detrimental to the materials that are there?
From everything I found online, I can't make an answer either way. That's the hard part.
what would your opinion be?
So just by research, again, not my personal facts, it looks like the U.S. Department of Labor recommends like 20 to 60%, with the ideal range 40 to 50, as Mr. Kraka stated. So a lot of the new glues, a lot of the modern glues now are water-based. So too much humidity would obviously cause them to be in a liquid state and release. We know for certain a lot of the ceiling tiles have problems with moisture. IT equipment, you know what I mean? So in light of Mr. Kraka's meter, we actually got 6 meters, the same, and I apologize for not doing that sooner. We should have done that sooner when we had some heat, real heat. And today outside it was 79 degrees with 36% humidity. On the 3rd floor we were 72 degrees. 1 meter was at 53%. 1 meter was at 62% humidity. So we're already outside the allowable tolerance on a day when it's 79. The 4th floor, east and west, were 51% humidity and 43 respectively, and the 5th floor was 50% humidity and 53% respectively, when the outside is only 36% on a not very hot day. So we're going to continue to leave those 6 meters run, and anyone that wants to be notified of those readings, we would be happy to do so.
If you could share that, that'd be great.
Andy, just for clarity too, there has been discussion of dehumidification. One thing that we looked at, or at least I showed you photos of and explained where they're at, there are inline dehumidifiers that exist right now in the annex that are in the basement for adult probation that would help with the humidity, but this is not going to be an end-all be-all solution. I think it's just going to be a supplementary solution that could help out, would be kind of where we're at.
But those are also large units in the ceiling. Inline, I mean, they're not something you go out and buy in a store.
So we, at Commissioner Haney's recommendation, Mr. Cooley's here, he could speak for sure, but I believe he looked at Costco, or just because that's what was referenced, you know what I mean, to follow that up. And it looks like most of the units that you would purchase and plug in and empty manually are around a 50-pint dehumidification. Now, obviously, they put off heat. The 5th floor has 25 independent rooms. The 4th floor has 21 independent rooms, and the 3rd floor has 20 rooms. So based on the square footage of those plug-in units that you would manually enter to be within their range of square footage, you would need approximately 10 to 18 units per floor. So you need anywhere from 30 to 46 units.
At how much a unit?
$300.
And then someone would have to empty those multiple times or daily, and then obviously they're going to generate heat. But for coverage, based on what those units are, their rating is, that is the units with the rooms you would need if you wanted to consider
That
that.
takes care of the humidity part, but then this is my understanding of a dehumidifier, that your temperature is going to rise because the air that comes out of the dehumidifier is dry and warmer, because that's how it works.
They will
So
create.
I don't see it cooling as much as I think it would work with the humidity.
But the problem is it kind of works both ways. It's dry heat, so it's the same thing. If you go to Arizona, it's 116 degrees.
I thought we had this conversation.
Yes, it's the same thing. It's different. You go to Alabama, where it's got humidity galore. It's night and day. So you have to figure it all in there. So But I guess the problem is we're not looking for a quick fixer, guys. We're looking for how do we solve the problem right now. We're not. It's going to be a lead time of a couple of years before we get everything fixed. Right now, we mentioned the fact that we give some dehumidifiers to try to save our carpeting, glue, ceiling tiles.
So how many dehumidifiers do we need? Did you say?
30 to 50 approximately due to all 3 floors.
I just want to go on. So for the last 22 years, we didn't have ceiling tiles falling out of the ceiling. We didn't have the glue popping up on desk. I'm just saying, and it is more water-based materials now than there ever was before. But I don't know that.
We're happy to look at any solution the elected members would like. It's our main task here was we're thankfully getting close. We appreciate the work to close out the project. We want to close out that project properly, as was mentioned by Mr. DiMartino. So when we leave the building and we ask the elected members to sign off on that work, any conditions that we feel are not within what we want to do our diligence and bring those to your attention. So that's.
So briefly, and just the ones that I looked at, I think are about $200 with 5,000 square foot of coverage. There's 25,000 square feet roughly per floor. I know we've got divided up rooms and stuff, but my thought was, and kind of like Council President Novak just said, we've gone for 20 years, however many years it's been with this chiller missing. 5 per floor, let's say at 5,000 square feet each, should cover per floor. Yeah, I know we have rooms divided off and stuff, but we have air circulating throughout the whole building. So as we knock it down, we don't necessarily need one in each room. Put one corner, each corner of the larger facility, or however you want to put it per floor. We're hopefully being able to knock some of those down. They've got hoses. Hopefully we can get 1 or 2 of them close to some onboard drains where they are anyway, and tag the other ones for maintenance come by, as when they do their daily building check at the end of each day, dump them as they go through, take a little bit extra time as they go through this building to do a building check. But then afterwards, obviously we can repurpose them and put them down in the basements of a bunch of the other places that we have where we kind of need them anyway. And at some point they're going to need some fresh dehumidifiers out at the museum as well, so we can repurpose them out there eventually 2 years down the road. But that was my thought, as opposed to trying to get one in every single room.
So how many would you like to buy?
My thought, well, if we get 5,000 square feet, if they're 5,000 square foot dehumidifiers, 5 per floor should be good. I think we're about 25,000 square feet a floor, if I remember correctly, roughly, or at least definitely not in excess of that.
You're actually around 10,000 square feet of floor. I know the numbers mentioned before.
Is it okay? So maybe that 25,000 square feet is cumulative for all 3 then.
Yeah, it's just short of 10,000 square feet per floor.
Okay.
I have not seen a dehumidifier. Scott Cooley, 1267 South 400 West LaPorte. I have not seen a dehumidifier that you can buy in the store like that will do 5,000 square feet. Most of them that I'm looking at are going to do somewhere between 600 and 1,200 square feet. Maybe I'm not saying that I've seen every one, but the ones that I looked at.
That's where we came up with our number. We're happy to put in place any solution the elected members choose. Everything was talked about the last workshop. We've tried to do our diligence so we can bring information for discussion.
Have you looked at some of you I talked to, have you looked at any, is there an industrial type, 1 unit type thing that you've seen out there, dehumidifier?
So the industrial one would be the proposal that was submitted that would sit outside in the drive next to the bridge. That's the only one I've seen.
Okay.
That was $127,000, I believe, for the first month, because we have to run 6-inch lines in and out of the building into the basement. We have to do the pipe.
It's basically a
8x40 trailer.
an air handler on a
It's
trailer.
a 200-ton chiller on a trailer.
I just had to.
Okay, thank you.
And what would we pay monthly for that?
It was around $24,000, I believe. And the first month was not to exceed, and the last month was not to exceed, because that unit needs 6-inch pipes brought to it and from it. The building has to be core drilled. It needs a 400 amp electrical feed. So there would be a lot of work setting that unit up. We would have to do the piping alterations. This was mentioned a little bit ago in the meeting. We'd have to put a valve in the bridge to shut off the bridge between the complex and jail, so we could valve off the two buildings to separate them. So all that would be required to get that unit operating effectively. So then that would be included in that not to exceed month for the price for the first month, because we don't know exactly what that work is going to take, and we understand it's a temporary solution. The by month, which was a little less than $25,000 a month, I believe, that was a fixed price based on the rental of the equipment, and then the last month was a not to exceed of around $58,000, because all that piping and all that electrical and the core drilling, all that would have to be removed to take the unit out.
So could you at least at this point do the Costco thing? Could you get 15 units, 5 per floor, like I mentioned? See if it knocks down the humidity, because it's something we can always use for any areas. Basements, we got some basement issues. It can go to the museum. We're not going to throw these things away. So that will try to see if this knocks the humidity down to some reasonable level. We're not looking to get the humidity down to 20, but if it gets down to a reasonable number, give it a shot, and we'll try it and see what it does.
We would love to do anything that's asking. I'm asking to be respectful, because I don't know the process. Is that now something we can do, or do the elected bodies have to vote on that for us to go do that? Okay.
And also, maybe do we do a trial of one floor at a time? I mean, because I'm going to tell you, I have one of these units, and I have to empty it, if not every day, every other day, and it is heavy, and it is a lot to ask of your crew, especially if you're going to ask them to do 15 a day. Yeah. And then they have to have easy access, and the good thing is that we do have places, but that means that they got to take that water, which is not in the nicest bucket, to take and dump somewhere, because mine, even though I have a toilet right near it and a drain on the floor, I try not to do so it doesn't go all over the place, but it's not an easy thing to do. Okay. And so I'm just concerned, it doesn't matter what model, because I looked at several different ones, but I went to the route of the local stores, the big box stores, I'll say. But that's why I've got a problem of going in and doing right away 50.
Mine brings to a 5-gallon bucket. I don't even come close to even filling half of a bucket a day. So I don't know. What's a 5-gallon bucket?
Well, I'm looking here, and we can price match this to other websites. But the one here I'm seeing that's online right now at Costco is $180, and it's 4,500 square feet. Which if it's 10,000 square feet up there, we could probably do 3 or 4 instead of 5. But again, we're not trying to get it perfect. But if we can get that down somewhere in the 40, 45.
We have the meters running. If you want to do a floor, we can report. We have the meters. We can report the meters, and we'll know.
Here's the Costco number.
I have a Costco membership too. Yeah.
50 hands go up. Well, I mean, that's a very short-term solution. I mean, we're really not looking at the elephant in the room.
No.
And
it's just something to kind of put a patch on it until we can figure out what we're doing. So, one of the other things I want to speak about is, and there was a lot of talk in the meetings that we've had with the jail is a lot cooler than the complex, obviously. But the windows, and how many windows need to be replaced right now? 60?
76.
I think there was 69 windows that are currently have failed.
Right.
I think there's only around 90 windows total, less than 100.
So 3/4 of the windows up there that are almost floor to ceiling windows.
So we're clear. Some of the windows, I just want to make sure we're on the same page, because Scott was involved with the walkthrough with the windows. So some of the windows that we counted that had failed were in the sheriff's offices.
Correct. So not all of them in the complex. All right. But these are floor to ceiling windows, whereas in the jail, they got little small windows, obviously, in the jail. There's not a lot of, so you got that thick wall that's protecting the thing. When we need to look at, when we're doing that in the calculations for a new chiller, if it's going to be 200 ton or whatever it's going to be, that we're going to replace some of those windows and put some insulated panels in and shorten those windows up. There's no reason to have that much sun and everything beating in there, or in the wintertime, all that cold coming in there. So
yeah, we know that the windows, all the windows, and obviously the ones on the complex that have failed, they have no argon in them anymore. So all you got is
no
dead air.
insulating value, nothing.
Nothing.
And it's only a matter of time till the other ones go.
I mean, it would help us on our energy and help in the long run, instead of just throwing more money and more money and more money and not getting it fixed. But that's something that is, we've talked about throughout this entire project up there is the windows. Do we want to do something with this? Because if you haven't seen the windows, you need to walk around because some of them are really bad. So, but anyway.
And the windows were installed in 1977 when the building was built.
Is that when it was, Mark? You were here.
Steve, why are you laughing?
He was about 40 years old then.
Mark was graduating.
Graduated high school in 77 quite.
Yeah, I know when. So,
Can I ask you a couple clarification questions?
Absolutely.
So the system that we have today for cooling is the same system that's been in place for the last how many years?
22.
22 years.
Well,
Yes.
may I clarify real quick? 22 years ago, according to the drawings, we had a third chiller.
Oh, right. So we could, somewhere between, what would you,
98 and 2005, the tower disappeared.
2005 on the on the aerial photo with
Google Earth.
Google Earth, it's gone.
98, between 98 and what?
2005.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at least since 2005, we haven't had that extra unit, and it's been the system we have operating right now is that same system for that entire.
That is
duration of
correct. That's correct.
Was there, as you guys were looking through this, ignoring the water damage, or if anyone else noticed before the flood, was there any indication that there was humidity-related damage, such as mold or whatever might have been?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if.
Mr. Haney, I think the last time you mentioned that it was very hot up there.
You said
Yeah, before the flood, it would get on hot days. It would get warm in there, and we always blamed. We pretty much always just blamed it on the windows because we knew there were some window seals that had failed, or at least that weren't. There was dead air in there anyway. Yeah.
And I wasn't avoiding your question. We did find some growth in the demo process. I looked at Guy because I wasn't clear if it was fair to make an assumption when that occurred.
Right, you don't know, yeah. If that was strictly because of that, but.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? We solved that. And obviously, at the next commissioners meeting, you guys need to
Do that in the morning, yeah.
proposal to us. And if that's the route we're going to do with one floor, see what it does, see if it makes a difference. On the humidity, it's not going to change the. I don't believe it's going to change the temperature. It might. I mean, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
We'd also like to discuss a long-term, because that's an acute fix, while we're trying to figure out what are our options for a long-term fix on this building. Because, I mean, I can't see us walking away from here and only having, putting a Band-Aid on and saying we're going to go out and buy dehumidifiers, and then we're not going to handle the real issue, the elephant in the room. So what you and your capacity and kind of like what you've looked at, what is your opinion, or what should we be doing, or how should we be looking at fixing this huge problem?
Well, obviously, it starts out with how long are we going to be in this building? And right now, I think we're all, I can't speak for everybody, but there are folks that say the jail's not going to be sufficient in 5 years. There's some that say it's going to be 20 years before it's not sufficient. So that's got to be part of the decision. Ultimately, we don't have enough cooling capacity to handle 95-degree days. There needs to be some increased cooling capacity, and that comes down to a longer-term solution of changing the piping configuration to allow the circulation to flow to both the annex and the jail, and add a minimum of 100 tons. And that just comes down to where's the square footage for one half of the system and where the square footage is for the other half of the system. And that will determine how large of a chiller it needs to be added for something like that by full design specs. And that would be a long-term, we're going to be here a while solution.
And even though there's people that talk about, well, why would you put money into this with the jail being older, the jail is ready, we should be looking at a jail and we should be saving money for a jail. But we're talking with the sheriff who gets the annual reports. I asked him if the jail is like at the end of its life, and he said absolutely not. So, and I encouraged him to see if by getting some kind of a study or find somebody, if he needs to come to us for funding, find out what the life expectancy of that jail is, so that we can make educated decisions on this, and we're not saying, oh, we're not going to be here, or we are going to be here. Because if that jail doesn't need to be replaced, I don't see us packing up and moving out of town anytime soon. I'm just telling you, because that's going to be. We missed our boat when
The Summit Farm.
the Summit Farm when they were giving that away. So that was a boat that sailed big time. So, but anyway, but I think we need to look at that. We need to look at the long term before we spend $4 to $6 million on a chiller. We need to look at the windows to make sure that if we are going to stay here, we need to look at the whole thing as a package. And it'd be nice to get a committee together with some people with construction background.
You're 100% right. What you exactly said is right. You need a whole study, and the study is simply not the air conditioning. I know kind of what you want it to do, but that's really not that. It's going to go into the longevity of the building,
Right.
and the complex of the whole building. Is it worth to have the building across the street, the building over here, the whole type of thing? But how long is,
Right.
What do you do?
The proposed, we did the Michigan City Courthouse, then we're gonna come over and do the LaPorte Courthouse, and that was tying this all together, revamping this building. We kind of beat the Annex part. And my thought was the Hyler building then would have space here, and we could eliminate the Hyler building, make a parking garage there, do something, because we know parking's a commodity.
You could simply look at us that we could say we were all geniuses that we got a 3% interest rate on the Michigan City, but that's not that wasn't the case. But now you're going to be you're going to get loans of 7-8% now. So there's things that you have to look at. Your costs are going to be.
But we need to put an aggressive committee together. We can start with the short-term things, the humidifiers, see what that does, work on a plan, but we need to get a group together that's actively working on this with some people to come up with a solution for this problem.
Have we previously done a facility study for our buildings, particularly the complex?
So there's a drawing renovating this as the Michigan City Courthouse.
I mean, like a study, like to determine any deficiencies in the building.
I don't.
No. The only study we did was we did a study with asking departments what their future goals and needs were. But the problem is that this is something I mentioned to you is that everybody says, we need twice the amount of employees. We need. Let's get an example. Downstairs here, we gave this opportunity for
Prosecutor?
down here probation. You see how that's doubled. They don't even use half that space down there, but you see what they build. They will come. Most of those rooms they use in Michigan City. They don't even use all the rooms down there. But if you give them the opportunity, they'll take whatever they want. That's the problem. You have to have a different idea. There's studies that the government's done that says we don't need as big a government. You've seen some of those things.
We should probably look at a study.
There is stuff that's been, I think it was done 2 administrations ago about cutting government down itself because we did at one time we did a real estate transaction. It went through 5 different departments just to get real estate from one point to the other to put it to bed. Why? It doesn't make any sense. So I'm just saying at least even our federal state government says we don't need that much government anymore. So long story short,
but we need a long-term projection analysis of what we need to keep it going so we're not over-improving, downsizing, what we need to do, the length of the time the jail's got left in it before we do anything, getting rid of the windows, shorten it down. What does that equate to in less BTUs or thermos that we need? I'm throwing out big terms. I have no idea.
You go down next time. Probably next time you go to AIC conference, ask those type of questions because I'm sure that people have done those. There's groups that do those type of studies.
Right.
Would you like a motion to appoint people to this?
Can't make a motion.
Can't make a motion workshop.
Well, you could. It's not going anywhere.
The committee.
I think
I think
we can ask people if they're interested in going.
Thank you for allowing us to be here. Happy 4th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ad hoc committee if you want. Yeah, sure can.
Right.
So, we all know about the damage to the small animal clinic? Yes?
Yep, we did.
Yes.
We did that last meeting.
Okay. And so, do you all know that the insurance adjuster came out? So then, I don't need to adjust it. I don't need to explain anything, right? You're all good to go. Okay. So you got a plan.
No, we don't. They do.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So wait, you're gonna finish your talk?
No, I was just told that you all know when you have a plan, so.
Nobody said that.
We're
Answer every question, but I said no. We said yes.
Okay.
Yes, we
we're
do.
allergic to the problem.
The mitigation was done with the emergency. The adjuster came out and looked at the place, and he was really happy with all the work that the commission did and Andy and his team did. They asked for a scope and an estimate. It's going to be my recommendation to the commission that you retain LaPorte County management to do the scope and the estimate, submit it to the insurance carrier. This is not a claim like this claim. The odds are they're just going to accept the claim. They'll send you a check minus the deductible, and then you all can do what you want to do for the repair. So that would be my recommendation.
Mark?
I think that's a perfect idea. That's okay. The only thing that I know that people like things like they used to, they kept an old pump, and they like the water pressure. This is what the problem was. You can get a little power washer and do the same things they could have used instead of using that pump. And that's what caused the issue.
Yeah, that's where the failure was. That pump.
Wait, let me finish, Randy. Quit defending your area, but quit defending it.
Okay.
A power washer in the back hooked up to a hose could clean that cage out just as easily without having that backup huge pump that they had back there, because that's the old system they had. They did not. They don't, when we gave them City of Water, they do not need that equipment. I think that we need to fix that problem.
Well, that could be taken care of.
And I would agree with you that the booster pump doesn't be there, but it's what it is you got several hoses running at one time. That's what they're doing. So it could be that they could do it better and with a different pump or power washers. But at the same time, the splash pad for dogs that's going out there, the water, the city is out there doing some things, so they think that might improve some of the pressure out there also. So
And that
it
could
could solve
that could be looked at when
Right.
the repair is going to get done.
But I
So,
agree with the other pump.
You
piece.
will have a deductible, so the insurance carrier.
Could you clarify, because maybe I'm not on the same page, what incident is this related to?
There was another water pipe that broke at a small animal clinic 2 weeks ago Sunday.
It wasn't a pipe that broke. It was a pump failure.
It was a water. It was a water intrusion in the clinic part, and apparently a number of cats almost drowned because the water was going on them, and
One cat
one
died.
cat
Died.
was that. Oh, did the cat pass away? I didn't know that, but the other cats got wet.
Did we get emailed about this? Perhaps I missed it.
I don't know. I don't know. So that's what transpired. So the water was shut off, the drywall was cut, the water was sopped up, and the insurance adjuster was out there last week.
And how are we going to deal with competitive procurement?
Well, I don't think that we're at that point yet, because if it's an estimate, we don't even know the estimate of what the cost is going to be. So once an estimate is done, and if the insurance carrier actually accepts it and sends you all a check, then you all can do whatever you want, depending upon the loss.
What do you mean by do whatever you want?
Well, I don't know if it's a $50,000 loss or a $70,000 loss. Once it goes through the insurance company, then you'll have the insurance proceeds, and you'll know the scope of work, and then you can put it out to bid. You can request. You can request quotes from different vendors, because we don't know the extent of it at this point in time. That's what I meant. Do what you want. I know it's a term of art.
Cut the damage to eyewall, so it's not. We're not talking that like.
Yeah, it's not a large room.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's more of an inconvenience for them now.
Is it an issue that our county maintenance department could handle?
No, I don't want to say anything, but the answer is no.
Thank you.
It's more involved than that, Earl.
Okay, then. All right. Anything else?
Anything else?
Do you want to? Issue right now. As well.
Okay,
That way
so
everybody knows.
today I I was at the executive session and I got a phone call and I had to leave abruptly. And that is because we had a hot water heater in LaPorte County Courthouse break. And kind of a bottom of it rusted out and kind of flooded out. As I went over there, one of the problems that we were having was we were having a hard time shutting off the shut-off valves. They're kind of the turn. Couldn't do it. We had to go get channel locks and we had to close them up. A lot of the pipes there already currently have leaks in them all the way around this hot water tank. So we're gonna go out and we're gonna get the hot water tank, but maintenance is not confident because there's going to be a lot of pipes that are going to have to probably be changed out, and all those valves are going to need changing as well. So we're going to have to figure out if we're going to farm that out or what we want to do.
I think we don't have a plumber on staff,
We do not.
so
A long time ago, we figured out you need somebody to know what they're doing for HVAC. We hired a guy who's a specialist in HVAC to, so that we don't have some guy that don't know what he's doing and screw that up. But you're right.
we don't have a plumber.
We don't have a plumber or electrician, so you're taking guys off the street and saying, and how many times has that bit us? You know, where the guy did the best he thought he was doing, but it wasn't right.
I think
And
they,
we suffered
Right.
because of it.
I think,
Shut off this valve and change this valve. Oh, I forgot that. Flood the place again.
maintenance needs to go out and get a couple prices as soon as possible. I'm sure it's not a 40-gallon water heater.
Probably not.
So anyway,
Probably 100.
right. So we're going over there to take a look at it here in a minute. So anything else? Huh?
Sorry, where's it at?
Courthouse.
Next door.
Downstairs.
Juvenile center.
Those are on the agenda. I think those are, aren't they?
So, I mean,
I think it's on our
the
agenda.
generator, I mean, we're at
Oh,
where are we with the generator?
generator.
Is handling.
The generator is.
We were waiting for McAllister, who's on the national QPA, to come in with a quote, and it'll be a quote, and it's approved under Indiana statute. But we can't. We're trying to light a fire under their keister.
So again, there's where we fail because we don't have, I think that's the big difference when you have a management company that would come in and handle that for us versus, you've called, right?
No.
Who has called?
Well, I asked Mr. Skiat to call because the initial generator was held by. It was a CAT generator, and they are the CAT dealer for this region.
So,
But then I contacted the Minnesota Core Source, which is the QPA that they're with, to determine that it was approved by Indiana statute.
We had one, he came to us, but we had to get one that, we were trying to get one so we could go bypass, use the Indiana.
Right. So it's the same. Right. It's the same model.
We're still ahead of the game.
Yeah,
we're still ahead of the time.
We're not doing nothing wrong.
Right.
no, I'm not saying we're doing anything wrong. I'm saying we're.
Presented by Andy.
So I think
Andy,
this,
are you currently working on that project?
no, it's not Andy.
No.
It's McAllister.
Yeah.
So
It is.
right.
We agreed, but he brought it up, right?
Right. But the actual generator and everything that he brought before you was from McAllister. Because they're the dealer in the Chicagoland region in Michigan.
Right.
So, but they are part. And because of the nature of the way CoreSource works, they're able to actually do the actual generator and sub it out for the actual work. So you won't have to go out and get bids for the installation of the new generator.
So has that been ordered?
We can't order it. We don't.
We're
have
waiting
it
on
yet.
McAllister to put the package together.
Correct.
And
But I think the council
council's already
has,
appropriated the money.
or we're going to, either we did appropriate it, favorable vote.
We appropriated not to exceed
It
300,000.
was appropriated not to exceed 300?
Yes.
Yeah, so,
So,
So then who's carrying the ball right now? Is it the commissioner?
no one.
Okay.
We need to wait for McAllister.
and as recently as this last week, communications have been.
Yesterday, as
McAllister.
recently as yesterday. We were told last week that we would have something this week, and that's why.
Okay, so who's in communication with them?
So I'm in communication with Andy, who's tickling McAllister.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So I'm scooching Andy, and Andy is scooching them.
Madam President,
Businesses don't like calls from lawyers.
basically, there's no other way to put this. We're on McAllister time, they're not on our time. And that is the world we are in right now.
We are trying to get it expedited, so.
All right.
Right.
What would you like us to do, Ms. Grammerosa?
No.
Who charted?
Scoochie.
All right. Anything else?
I just
Anything
want
else?
you to know
Kinda-
where
That's where we're at.
with it. Okay.
When did I annoy you last?
We're starting to.
This morning. What?
We're starting to go a little bit sideways, I'm just saying. Anything else? All those in favor of it now,
Just
we're done.